All right. Welcome back. So, just to recap what we did last time, because this week I'm going to be continuing to work on the same model. So, I'm painting a Chaos Knight Wardog, and this is, you should see a picture in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. That's the paint scheme that I'm basing mine off of. I'm tweaking a few things, but this is basically what we're going for. And I was looking at using some of the themes that are on this kind of knight, where you have the interesting striped pattern on top. So this is where I'm at. And so you can see that it's still the same, like a blue and black theme, but the blue's a bit more vibrant, and it's still the same like gold trim on the armor and silver and copper chassis. But like I said, the blue's more vibrant, and I added an interesting pattern to the top, kind of mimicking that second picture that I put up. So right now it's looking pretty done, and you might be wondering what else there is to do. So this stream is all going to be about finishing touches, where you already have a model that is tabletop ready, or even beyond tabletop ready at this point. But some things that you can do to push the models a little bit further. One thing that I'm going to start with is the weapons. So these weapons are, they look good, but they could look better. And so I'm going to do like a heat stain effect on the front of the weapon. I'm going to do some dry brushing to pick out some details, some recess shading, and we'll see if we can make this gun a bit more interesting. Same thing with this one over here. And then I'm also going to add some transfers just to add some interesting iconography to like the shoulder pad, the tabard, to make those a bit more interesting as well. So I'm going to start with these weapons. And I'm going to get out my texture palette. This is just an important tool to have when you are dry brushing, which is where I am going to start. These weapons have already been base coated and shaded, but I want a bit more of the silver color back, and I want to highlight a few things. And the easiest way to do that is to just dry brush them on. So I'm going to be dry brushing on like Lead Belcher and Runefang Steel. And with dry brushing, you want to use the largest brush that's reasonable to use. We don't want to hit any of the, or make any mistakes on any of the parts of the model that we've already painted. But you do want it to be fairly big. so that you get smooth transitions. And especially with this step here, because I'm using lead belcher, you shouldn't see too much of a difference. But it's important for the next step where we use a brighter silver, as this lays the foundation. It'll look worse. I'll just put it that way if we don't do this step, because the runefang steel will be too bright in comparison to the shaded lead belcher. I can do this one. Cool. Now we can jump onto the runefang steel. And this one should be a lot more noticeable, as it's a bigger difference in color. Because of that, you'll see me take a bit more time taking paint off the brush. Because if there's too much paint while you're dry brushing this, it will be noticeable and it will look bad. It won't give you the effect that you want. One thing that's nice about a texture palette is that you get a kind of a preview of what it's going to look like on your model. So if you don't like how it looks on the palette, you're definitely not going to like how it looks on the model. Alright, so that was a few quick highlighting steps. And the main goal of that was just to pick out some of the detail to make it a bit easier to see. Next, I'm going to do some recess shading, which is the opposite, but with the same goal. Essentially, what you're looking to do is push the contrast between your recesses and your highlights as far as you can, and that helps your eyes, pick out the details. So I'm going to be using this Black Legion contrast paint, with our highlights being a bright silver and our recesses being black. It looks pretty good, and we'll need to take some moisture off the top of my wet palette. It should be damp, not wet. I should know how much water to put in my wet palette at this point, but I don't. So I often have to take some moisture off. It's all good though. All right. Yeah, you definitely don't want your wet palette to be flooded. All right. And the main goal for this step, we're only going to be applying this step to this gun here, and we're looking at these, like, let's see if it'll focus, these vents here. Essentially, we want to make those vents as close to black as possible. Because they're supposed to be like holes, and so if they're like silver, it doesn't look right. So we're just gonna come in here and put some black contrast paint over it to make it actually look like they're like vents in the side of the gun. So you can see the difference. This is what the other side looks like. It's having a real hard time. There we go. That's better. All right. And the nice thing about using contrast paint is if you get any on the like the raised surface, you can just like wipe it off with your thumb. Yeah, I'm live. Thanks for stopping by. Cool. So I'm actually gonna go grab my other model, because I did a heat staining effect on this guy already. And like I said before, I'm trying to keep a similar theme on my army, so we're going to be doing similar things. This is an example of what the end product will look like, and I will be doing this on the exhaust vents of the small knight as well. But essentially, we're just applying like a brownish yellow glaze into a purple glaze into a blue glaze. And you get this nice, interesting effect of like metal that's been superheated. I think that's what causes it. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. But this kind of thing happens, and it looks a lot cooler than just silver exhaust pipes or like a silver gun. You can see I did it on this gun as well. And it doesn't super matter if it's supposed to be on the barrel of a gun, because these are fantasy weapons, so they're not real. Who's gonna know? So the weapons that I use, or the colors that I use for this are, grab them real quick. Skeleton Horde, which is our yellowish brown, Leviathan purple, and Azurman blue. And we are gonna thin these paints down because we want it to look like it's metal that's been stained a certain color, not that it's actually yellow, purple, and blue metal. So we're gonna thin the paints down, make them more transparent. We're gonna be using contrast medium to do that, because we're working with contrast paints. And really, contrast medium is magic, so you can use it with any paint, and it'll make it better. Because magic. I love paint magic too. It's so fun to use, especially after you've been painting a little bit and you know how regular paints work, and then you use a magic paint and you're like, whoa, this has changed my life. Now you'll see I took a very small amount of Leviathan purple, because this stuff is strong. Like strong. I might even need to use a bit more medium here. It's supposed to be a super dark purple, and we want it just to be a little bit of stain. So we do like 9-to-1 contrast medium to Leviathan purple. The blue is also pretty strong, but not nearly as strong as the purple. Cool. So now you just slap it on. You don't have to worry too much about being precise, as it's just like a staining effect. So just in general, you paint a band of the yellowish brown. Then you come in with the purple, and make sure you overlap a little bit. And because we're doing something called wet blending, where we're working the yellow paint is still wet. Essentially, we're mixing the purple and yellow paint on the model to create a midtone. We can come in with a bit more yellow because, as I said before, the purple is quite overwhelming. Okay. And then we can apply the blue. Do I need a lighter purple? So it's very nice that the purple is so strong, because essentially I get to choose the strength of the purple that I want to use. Whereas if I had a lighter purple, like essentially I can't get more purple. I can only take away purple by adding contrast medium. So it's nice that it's so pigmented. Additionally, I like the color, and so they do have different purple contrast paints, but it's not the same purple. And let me see if I can show you what I'm talking about, because I'm sure that didn't make a ton of sense. Here is a different contrast purple, and if you can see the difference here, it's more of a let's see, reddish purple. It's not brown, I promise. It's like a grape purple, whereas this purple is like a violet purple. So I really like Leviathan purple because it's a bluish violet as opposed to like a grape color. Yeah. So that's why, even though I have to water it or dilute it a bunch, I still use it because I like the color, and it's helpful that I get to choose how pigmented I want it to be. So that's one layer, and I'm trying to decide if I want to do a second layer. Ooh. Hold on, I have to rearrange things a little bit. My big model was precariously stacked on a bunch of things, and I do not want this to fall and break. I think I might have to do another layer of the yellowish brown. Just like the purple and blue, I think are fine. I think the yellowish brown is too it's too light. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus the second layer closer to the purple side, so that you get a nicer transition between the plain silver and the heat staining effect. Something like that. Cool. Additionally, once this is fully dry, because I don't want to touch it when it's semi-dry, it'll tear up paint layers. But I'll come back in with the Runefang Steel dry brush, just to make sure that all the edges are highlighted again. It'll really pick out the details of the effect. Cool. Now I can move on to doing it on the exhaust. And it's just going to be a similar process. I do have to get out some more paint though, because I once again underestimated the amount of paint that I would need. It's okay though. Don't want to waste any paint. It is expensive. I definitely diluted the skeleton horde too much. It's interesting going between a paint like skeleton horde that's a very light color to Leviathan purple that's a very strong dark color. Diluting both ends of the spectrum at the same time is interesting. Alright, and just like last time, I'm going to apply a second layer of the skeleton horde, just because it's the weakest of the contrast paints that I'm using, and so applying multiple layers is what I need to get the kind of the color that I want. And there we go. We now have a heat stain effect on both the melt-a-gun and on the exhaust pipes. One second. Cool. I'm just taking a drink of water. Make sure to stay hydrated. All right. While I was doing the exhaust pipes, I think this is fully dry. At least it looks to be. So now I can come back in with the silver to bring back some of the highlights. So we're going to get out the texture palette again. Get some more silver out onto the palette. Shake up the silver first. And I'm doing this again because I want the heat stain to be a somewhat subtle effect. Not too overpowering. And so this will bring back some of the metal look, some of like the regular metal look, and also pick out some of the details. Keep those alive. And we're going to do the same thing to the exhaust pipes. Just bring a little bit of the silver highlight back. And if it looks like I'm just kind of haphazardly running my brush over the model, it's because I am. There's not a lot of skill or control needed for this step. You basically just want to move your brush in circles over the part of the model and it'll catch all the edges. And that's why we love dry brushing. Thanks for the reminder to drink water. Of course. We love being hydrated. All right. Cool, cool. So this is where we're at now. You can see with just a little bit of work on the exhaust pipes and the model on the gun, it makes the model a lot cooler, at least in my opinion. Another thing I'm going to be doing today is the transfers. I lost the word for a second there. So if I pull up this picture again, make it a little bit bigger, you can see some of the transfers that they've applied. And I have this handy dandy, oh, you can't see it at all, handy dandy transfer sheet. I made it too big. So I like the, I don't know, it's like a snake head. Not sure that black will show up well. Maybe it will. I might use the cream colored one instead. I think that would show up better against the dark blue that I have on that shoulder pad. And then they have some of these like Chaos runes on the tabard, which I also have. Ooh, and it looks like they free-handed the arrows, which is that's part of the Chaos Star. And then it looks like they put a few like drops of blood on the other shoulder. So let's see if we can do those. I think those look good. No reason to change those up if they already look cool. So when you're applying transfers, it's a couple steps, and they are pretty easy. I'm gonna turn on a fan though, because some of these some of the steps are kind of stinky. I have these two liquids. One's called Micro Set, and the other one's called Micro Sol. Essentially, you put Micro Set on the shoulder or on the part of the model. Then you put the transfer on top, and then you put another layer of this over, just to kind of lock it in. And then finally you come in with Micro Sol at the end, and that, like it says, it's for a painted on look. It helps both of these are just kind of helping the transfer shape to the shape of the model. Otherwise, it literally just looks like he slapped a sticker on it, and it doesn't really look good. So we are going to come in here and grab, it's facing the same direction, right? Yeah. So I have to grab the I have to grab the one that's inside. Just use an X-Acto knife or something to cut these out. If you're uncomfortable with using a knife, I think scissors should work. It's hard to get a handle on these small pieces. Nuts. Alright, so there's two parts to the thing I just cut out. One is the kind of the paper, and the other one's the transfer itself. And so actually, let me get out. I think this should work here. We need to separate it from the piece of paper, and to do that you just kind of dip it in water. I'm looking for my tweezers. Cool. And we just want to let this soak for a minute or two. I didn't want to put it in my paint water because, well, you get some paint on it. Don't want that. And you don't, I said you have to let it soak, but really you just need to dip it in water and then just let it sit. So I'm just going to set that to the side, and I'm going to start cutting out the other transfers that I'm planning on using. Let's see, they used red letters, right? Yeah, that looks pretty cool. And I think I'm going to use the thinner red letters, not the thicker ones. I also have to pay attention to which letters they use, because they probably like wrote something whereas I have no idea what these say, so if I just put random ones on, it'd be gibberish. We don't want gibberish. We need to say something cool, which they probably did. Let's see if we can punch this out here. Get a little bit more. guess I wasn't cutting all the way through the paper. It is kind of thick paper. I have to make sure I'm not cutting into the transfers themselves. We don't want that. All right. So let's see here. Go back to this. Maybe make it a bit bigger so we can see exactly what symbols they were using. I think they're so close together. I feel like I'm gonna destroy the symbols next to the one I'm trying to cut out. Probably should have done this before the stream, but that's okay. This is showing you real time what you should be doing. Okay. They're also just like scribbles to me, so like trying to figure out which ones I should be grabbing, kind of difficult. Some of these are just what? What am I even looking at? All right. We got one tiny letter. We have 3 tiny letters. All right, looking good. Got like this one. Sure. Just gotta hope whoever's looking at this model doesn't know how to read this. Read these letters either. Hopefully they don't ask what it says. Because the answer to that, I don't know. For being real. Alright. I swear some of these don't exist. Alright, we'll work with that for now, and I'll look for the other ones later. Because if we're being honest, I'm not even sure that some of these exist. Alright. Now the one that I prepped already should be good to take off. It's a little bit more water on there. And as you can see here, you can see it like lifting off as I push it down, which is great. That means it's ready to go. I can apply a layer of the micro set to the shoulder pad. I can take the transfer here and we're just gonna slide it on with our brush. This is a little bit difficult because you need both hands here, but it should be good. Something like that. I think I'm gonna, and because we put we can take a little bit more microset here. Because we have microset on the surface already, we can kind of maneuver it around a little bit. Push it along the surface of the model. Let's bring up our reference here so that we can see about how it looks, how it's positioned. You don't have to copy the official, but it's something that you can look at that already looks good. And so if you're not sure exactly how it should look, it's a good reference. And if you don't like how the reference looks, then you don't have to do it. You already have a good an idea of what not to do. Cool. So we're gonna let that sit for a little bit. And the best part about it is we didn't have to freehand that. Because if I'm being honest, I don't think I would be able to freehand that. So good stuff. Now I'm going to move on to the tabard on the legs while we're waiting. And it looks like I am going to have to do a bit of freehanding. Now, I wasn't planning on it, but I like how theirs looked. I want to kind of mimic that. So here goes nothing, I guess. And the key to freehanding is actually using a reference, or having a very good idea of what you want it to look like and creating reference points. So I'm gonna bring up the reference here, make it kind of big. So if you can see, there's a half circle at the top, and then there's two shorter lines and a big line. So we're going to start making reference points here. The big line goes all the way down to like here. on the model, something like this. So we're just going to make a dot with black where we think it should end. Cool. It looks like the small arrow on the right, looks like it ends somewhere around here. Put a mark there. That'd have been a bit too big of a mark, but that's okay. We'll probably have to do a bit of cleanup anyway. And then it looks like the small one on the left ends about here. And it looks like the half circle goes from like here to here. Cool. So now that we have our reference points down, we can come in and we're just playing connect the dots. So we come in with our small brush and we say, okay, we're going to draw a curve between these 2 points here, like so. And like so. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect because we'll probably have to do some cleanup anyway, but you just make it as good as you can. Right now we're just kind of connecting the dots. Next we come in and we just draw a straight line from the circle to our reference point. From the circle to the reference point, and from the circle. This one's a long one. It's not super straight. All good though, to our reference point. All right. So now we have the basic shape. I can come in and start drawing the arrows themselves. Alright, and that's looking pretty good, but we are going to have to do some cleanup, which was expected. Oh. So we can come in here with the color of the tabard, just do a bit of touching up. It might take a few coats because we are doing like a cream color over black, but that's okay. And I will probably have to come in with some black again, just to make the black darker. But I want to do this first, just to make sure that I want to keep the lines that I have. Make sure I don't want to like change anything. And you can see through a combination of like adding black and covering it up with the tan color, we are making the lines straighter, less wobbly. Because like I don't have stable hands, so like a lot of my lines are look a bit wobbly. But we're kind of adding marks, almost erasing marks, until we're satisfied. And there you go. Some quick freehand, and I say quick, but I know that took like 15-20 minutes. This may look like a tedious process, which it is, but I think the effect is worth it. I think this is much cooler than like a plain tan tabard, and I think it adds more character to the model. So worth. All right. we can check on our shoulder pad over here, which is looking pretty good. I'm gonna take away some of the excess liquid. Now we're gonna come in with microsol just to lock it down, keep it in place. Make sure it forms to the shoulder pad correctly. Now it does have a slightly glossy finish, but that will be fixed in the next step, which is applying a matte varnish to the top. And when we apply a matte varnish to the whole top of the miniature, it starts to blend in and starts to look like a more cohesive part of the model, as opposed to something that we just like slapped on top. All right, so we have our cool freehand here on the tabard done. Let me pull up the reference again. And so now we can start applying some of these little runes, letters, something like that. So I'm going to do the same thing where I take my tweezers, pick up these little pieces of paper, if I can. Dip them in water, and then you just set them to the side for a little bit. And that water will slowly lift the transfer off the paper. Which is what we want. Cool. Got nachos? Sheesh. What you got on your nachos? Something tasty, I hope. I'm glad you're enjoying the skin purchase. Queso, salsa, and beef. Wow, that sounds tasty. No jalapenos though? Still good though? Yeah, it sounds tasty. Uh-oh. You know those tiny letters that I just set aside? Well, I'm now missing one. That's a problem. Oh, it's stuck to my hand. Oh my goodness. We're gonna... I've never worked with transfers that are this small. They're kind of annoying, not gonna lie. Alright. So we pull up the reference here. Make sure we're grabbing the right one. Then we grab, and every time I put the tweezers down, I just seem to misplace them. Grab the transfer. Oh no! These are so hard to hold. Oh, and I just dropped it on the ground. Alright, so today we're learning you can just like throw these around and it's all good. Take some of the solvent, put it on. Take our paintbrush. It's not coming off. Oh, there it goes. Place it on the mini. And when in doubt, if you're having trouble working with them, just get some more of the solvent on your paintbrush. Just kind of push it around until it looks like it's in a good spot. That looks pretty good. What does this little eye mean? Who's to say? But now it's on my model, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, just like it is kind of like putting stickers on the Legos, but a little bit more involved and a little bit more forgiving. When you put a sticker wrong on a Lego, like, oh god, it's just over. There's no fixing that. But this is the same vibes. Alright, I'm going to do one on this side next because I'm a little bit unsure about what some of these symbols even are. So we're gonna go with the ones that we know, the ones that we can for sure see. See, if this was a Lego sticker, it would just already be over. But because it's a transfer, I can push it around until it's in the right spot. I don't have to cry. I actually think this one should be a bit higher. Slide it up like this. If you ever tried to do transfers without the micro set or micro sol, it's not a good time. This is another one of those things where it's kind of just like, hey, this is magic. Yeah, but if you don't use the magic substance, it's just pain. and suffering. All right. Looking pretty good. Time for another water break, just so everyone knows. Yeah, I do need a bot with a timer that lets me know when I should be drinking water. Instead, I just have to be like, oh, I'm thirsty. Maybe I should drink. Alright, I am cutting out the last couple little transfers here. And somehow they're even smaller than the other ones. Oh man. Those in water. I accidentally cut out one that I didn't need. That's okay though. Okay. So yeah, if we look at the transfer that we did earlier, It's looking pretty good. It's molded well to the shape of the shoulder pad. You can still tell that it's more glossy than the rest of it. That's where the matte varnish comes in. I'll be applying. I think I'm going to apply it as soon as I'm done with these other little transfers here. And even if you're not applying transfers, you should apply a final layer of the like a matte varnish, because you know, a lot of different paints will have different like finishes, and so if when you apply a layer of matte varnish, it gives everything the same finish and makes it look like a cohesive model, as opposed to like a bunch of different random brush strokes. It's really a cool effect that I didn't think would make a difference, but once you do it, you're like, oh, this is cool. I understand. I see the light. All right, so now we have our cool stickers on, just like the reference photo, which is like, yay, we did the thing. We can be cool like the reference photo too. And so something important to note is you can see that these letters are like dry, but they're not set, right? So if you come back in with the microset solution, it'll lift off the model again, and you can continue to move it around. Once you put down the microsol, then you start. Then it starts to set, and you know, once you apply the varnish, then it's super set. You can't touch it. So it's important to note that you can go back and continue to work with it, but at a certain point you can no longer do that. So it's important to note at which point you can't touch it anymore. We're cooler than the reference? Oh, of course, of course. I mean, for one, the blue that I chose is much better than the reference. Like, I don't know who chose that blue, but they're wrong, just objectively, of course. Taste and color? Objective, right? Gonna get another honorable mention? Yeah, of course. Maybe if my taste in color was the same as the refs, then I would win. All good though. So now I'm applying some microsol to the top here, and just a thin layer. Disaster. Oh god. Oh no. Help! Help! Alert, alert. I'm trying to ruin everything. Okay. I think we salvaged it. This one's it's a bit deformed, but I think that's okay. Oh God. Oh God. I messed it up. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Surgery. Emergency surgery. So, important to note, make sure the microset dries before you try and apply the microsol, because otherwise you can end up moving the transfers, which were perfectly placed before. Alright, I think I fixed it. I need to step away, not touch it. I'm actually gonna put this on a different table so I'm not tempted. I'll put it next to a fan so it dries faster. Alright, that was crisis averted. Alright. So apologies for the noise, but I'm going to be turning on my airbrush. Alright, so one other thing that I am going to be doing that I didn't mention is I'm going to be putting a glow effect on the eyes. On the big model, I have a glow effect on like one of the weapons and on the chest, but this guy doesn't really have any glowy weapons. And the chest is kind of, well, covered. So, in order to keep that same, like, glowy theme, I want to apply a slight glow effect to the eyes. And, hope I don't ruin the model. Now, to do a kind of a quick and easy glow effect with an airbrush, you take some white ink. Ink is important because it's pretty transparent, but still holds its properties, which is what we want. Sometimes if you dilute paint too much, it kind of breaks down, and then we're sad because it stops acting like paint. And so we're looking for just a kind of a halo of light around the eyes. So that's why we're coming in with white, because white is light. Alright, I messed it up a little bit, but it's okay. I think I fixed it. As with most things in miniature painting, you can generally fix a lot of mistakes that you make. So don't panic. It's all good. You can fix them. And so right now, it looks I don't know, it looks maybe fuzzy around the eyes. That's okay. It's kind of the look that we're going for. And it'll look a lot better when we apply the color. So we're going to be coming in with this Doomfire Magenta, which is like a, well, it's a magenta color. And again, it's a contrast paint, which we love. We love contrast paints, they're magic. But they do need to be diluted a little bit so that they're not as strong. Because again, we're trying to like tint the color, not make it opaque. Oh, it's still really, really vibrant. So we're gonna dilute it a little bit more. And this is why we test it before we apply it. Now that's looking better. So you can see the slight pink starting to come in around the eyes. Which is awesome. That's what we want. Now the eyes themselves, we are going to apply the contrast paint just like without diluting it, to give it kind of the pure color. I think I'm going to apply a bit more around the eye. And then finally we are going to come in with just some pure white at the center of the eye to make it so that people know that that is the source of the light. And there you go, you have like glowing magenta eyes. I am going to touch up the where I messed up a little bit. All right, now I'm gonna come in with I'm gonna check and make sure that the the other transfers are drying properly. Looking pretty good. I'm gonna come in with a layer of microsol, which this is where we messed it up last time. Hopefully this time goes a bit better now that we've let it sit. Yeah, that's much better. No more disaster. All right. And we're gonna let that dry again. All right. So while that's drying, I am going to still be working on this guy over here. And as I said before, one of the final steps that I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be applying a matte varnish, just to make everything look cohesive. And I'm going to be doing it with the airbrush just so that it's a nice thin layer. You know what? I didn't clean this out as well as I thought I did. It's important, especially with the clear coats, that you make sure you clean it out properly, because otherwise everything would have a slight pink tint to it, and we don't want that. Alright, so here we go. Alright, so you can see that already where it's dried, the transfer already looks like a much more cohesive part of the model. Whereas over here we have the ones that we did not varnish, and you can see that they have a different finish than the rest of the model, and so you can tell that they're just kind of stickers. Whereas this one, same finish, looks like a part of the model. You can see everything has the same finish, and so everything is much more cohesive. So it looks like the microsol is finished drying over here, so we can do the same thing. We're just applying a matte varnish to this part of the model now. And I'm going to do the same thing to the weapons, even though they don't have the varnish on them. Or, I mean, they don't have like transfers on them. Still want to make sure that they have the same finish as the rest of the model. I'm going to be applying a matte varnish to those as well. And luckily, because we're applying this with an airbrush, it's a very thin layer, and so it dries very quickly, which is good. I like that. We don't have to wait around. It does have a little bit of wait time though, so while I'm waiting, I'm going to come in, clean my airbrush a little bit. And at this point, I'm going to turn my airbrush off. And we're getting pretty close to being done with the model. There's a couple more things that I want to do. For example, I do still need to paint the bird on top. I think I want to put a little bit more time and effort into like the stakes. But those are less important. So I'm going to give it a little bit more time to dry, but then I can do the bird real quick. Take another water break. All right. So while we're looking at the bird here, I'm just going to be coming in with like a various colors of like pink and magenta to match what I did on my big dude, and to match some of the colors that are already on the model. All right. I'm going to come in with a shade here, just to bring back some of the, or to dull out some of the pinks and have it blend better with the black of the bird. Once that dries, I'm going to come in with some of the Doomfire Magenta, just as a final glaze to bring together the colors. But that's the bird done. So this is the end of my stream. I hope you can see kind of the things that you can do to kind of push your model a bit further, make it a bit more interesting. I did on stream. I did the kind of the heat stain on the exhaust and on the weapon here. I did the glowing effect of the eyes. I did a little bit of freehand here on the banner, and I added some transfers to give it a bit more character, bring it into the world, and then I applied an all over matte varnish to make everything that I've done more cohesive and make it look like it's all part of the same model. Thanks for stopping by though, and I'll see you next week.